Broadcasting live from the offices of policebackground.net. This is the Police Applicant Podcast with your host, Ken Roybal.
Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of the Police Applicant Podcast. This is episode 99. And with me today, as always, no surprise, Donovan Heavener's here.
Hey.
Donovan, what a great day to do a podcast. It's a Thursday. It's not a Friday like we usually do.
Yeah, it is a Thursday.
But we made a special exception for our good friend who's with us today, Investigator Jesse Cohen, Westminster, Colorado Police Department. Jesse, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for doing it, guys. Yeah, sorry I don't work Fridays. We get a lot of time off at Westminster, so I was trying to do it while I was actually at work, and I didn't have to do it from my house here.
It's not a problem because Donovan and I I'm retired and Donovan's semi-retired. He keeps threatening to retire.
I work when I want, but I love how you got that first part of recruiting in right away. You know, we don't have to work that much here in Westminster, so.
Get a lot of time off, and so I was like, I can do it from my house, but I kind of want to do it on the clock, and so I've got a 4-day weekend coming up, so figure we do it on my Friday.
Good, no problem. It's not a problem. What we're going to do today is we're going to catch up with Jesse. Jesse was originally on episode 72 talking about Westminster and where we met Jesse. And who are the other two folks that were here?
Sure. So I was with Sergeant Janae Hall. She's Sergeant of Hiring and Professional Services. And then Investigator Wayne Reed. He's our longest tenured investigator. I think he's at 23 years now as an investigator. And still not telling us when he's going to retire.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
Keep you surprised. So when you first came on, we were first meeting you, learning about Westminster and what it's like to work there and all the different things. And you had some pretty cool stuff going on. So since our last episode, and I believe, Donovan, you said that was August 2023.
Yeah.
So here we are, a year update.
Literally, yep.
Not bad. So what's been going on at Recruitment since our last interview?
Well, so when we first did it, I was pretty new to the position. They brought me in. I think I'd been there for maybe 3 months. So I was kind of getting my feet wet. We were down, I think, looking at or watching the podcast before, we were down 14, which was basically 93% staff, which is, pretty good, but we wanted to get it up. So right now, we're 97% staff. We're 6 down. We should be more because we've hired, since the last podcast, I have my numbers here, we've hired 16, plus we have 4 in the academy. But with everything, we've had a couple of guys retire, a couple of guys move out of state, whatever. There's the thing with Westminster is nobody laterals to another department in state. Like if they leave the department, it's either retirement or they, for personal reasons, they have to move. So we were actually getting pretty excited because we were almost at 100%. We were like 1 or 2 under. And then we had a couple of retirements. But right now, I've got 3 laterals and backgrounds. We're in interview process for entry level. And then we have more lateral applicants coming through. So it's kind of cool. We will be at 100% very soon. We've actually been allocated to overhire, which, in today's policing, I don't know how many, if any, departments out there are overhiring. I'll be honest, I actually don't know how many we can overhire, so we're just going to hire until we're told to stop. But it's just something that we have that's been good. So I'll tell you, like Ken, and for the listeners out there, the podcast has been huge. I share pretty much anybody that's been hired in the past year has watched the podcast. It's been all over. It's been on our Instagram, our Facebook, our Twitter. Anything I've ever gone to, people have seen it, and it's been a awesome resource for us. So I just want to say thank you for that.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And Donovan, I don't think I've seen anybody have stats like that where we're almost 100%. I don't know if we've ever interviewed anybody with that kind of.
No, and I've talked to some agencies who, they get to 100%, and it's usually that short-lived. They get a a couple minute celebration and then someone retires or something happens. So hopefully when you hit that 100%, you get to celebrate for a little while. But the overhiring is always a good idea. There's a lot of agencies on the West Coast that are doing the overhiring if they ever get to that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's like you said. I mean, we'll get there. I mean, right now, if this is 100%, you know, we're right here, and we'll probably be up. But then we have, you know, I don't know how many guys that we have in our department with, you know, 28 plus years that are, you know, pulling the plug at any minute. So we'll be back down to that 97, 98% and just kind of fluctuating. But I mean, you know, I know compared to at least in Colorado and most places, very few places are, you know, much higher than what 95% staffed. And I know a lot of places are well below that.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I worked for LAPD and even into up to 2018, it was never fully staffed.
Yeah.
Never. And then when they got to the number close to it, it was still under policed anyways. But you guys are pretty par on as far as the what you need for the city.
We are, yeah. I mean, we talked about this on the last episode. So we're a 200 sworn department. So I think that puts us right at a mid-size, but it's a suburban department. So, you know, it's like you have the big Denver metro area split up into, I'm sure similar to Seattle and LA, split up into various districts. So, you know, Westminster is a 200 sworn department, which is pretty similar to most areas around here. But one thing I was going to say is it can be intimidating for these people. Like we did a written test for entry level not too long ago. And you guys probably remember when you tested, when you go into the room to take the written test and you see, you know, 300 people taking the written test and they have 2 spots open and you got the chief's kid and then the chief's, you know, niece taking the test. And you're like, what's the point? Why am I even here? Mm-hmm. When I tell people, and I want to tell the listeners this, is when you test for Westminster, don't worry about how many slots we have open, because if you're a good candidate, you're going to get hired. Your only competition is yourself here. Come in, take each process step by step by step. You'll get the position. Because the way we look at it, just say we have 5 positions open, right? But we have 9 people that we like. That means 4 people that are going to be good Westminster cops aren't going to get a job. We're not going to do that. We're going to hire all 9. On the flip side, if we have 5 spots and we have 3 people we like, we're only going to hire 3, because that means 2 people shouldn't be Westminster cops. So don't worry about the number. Don't worry about how many slots we have. Come in, test. You have a good chance if you're a good candidate. That's it.
That's pretty good. That's unusual.
It is.
Yeah.
Especially the part if you have legacy candidates related to members of the department or favorites and things. I know somebody that was applying for a job, for a police job, and then there was somebody else that was going up against him, and he didn't get hired. He was way qualified. The person who got hired was not qualified in the least, but they got hired because they were friends of somebody. Then he got a call a few months later and says, "Hey, so that other person didn't work out. Do you want the job?" And he said, "No." You know?
I had that. I remember I had that when I was testing at first. I was taking a written test for 1 spot, and it was a family member, somebody who's in there. I was like, what am I even doing? I filled half my test out, turned it in, and they're like, "You done?" I'm like, "Am I really going to get the position?" They're like, "No." I was like, "Okay, I mean, come on," you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get it.
Well, since the last episode, Jesse's been kind of busy, and we had some conversations. And Donovan, Jesse's been out and about in areas that we have frequented before. So have you been to any, I know the answer to this question, but have you been on any out-of-state recruitment trips, Jesse?
More than one, and more than one time. So I actually have my list here, so I'm going to kind of look off it because I have a lot. So I was out at Fort Liberty. It used to be called Fort Bragg out in North Carolina. I've been there, went to Fort Riley, Kansas. I do numerous trips up to Wyoming, University of Wyoming, some other places. Wyoming's actually a really good recruiting ground for us, and I'll kind of get into that later. And yes, I made a trip to California not too long ago. I was out at Camp Pendleton. Camp Pendleton was having a really big recruiting fair. out there for police officers. And actually what I did was the day after Camp Pendleton, I went to a cafe in like Oceanside, I think it was. And I had basically coffee meetings and lunch meetings with a bunch of area cops from California who were, trying to consider, maybe lateral out of California, most of whom, were listeners of this podcast. And one thing that's cool we did was we made this little video that we posted on Ken's Instagram that the last time I looked, that thing had 8,000 views or something. I mean, it was crazy. So the California trip was a lot of fun. It was kind of funny when I was at Camp Pendleton. I had a couple people come up from California and they were like, "Hey, you're Westminster, Colorado, right?" I was like, "Yeah." They go, "Are you the Jesse Cohen from like Police One and the Police Applicant podcast?" I was like, "Maybe, depends on who's asking." So it was all good feedback. But no, it was cool to see with that.
And these were a bunch of Marines that were going to the job fair?
Yeah, so the Marines went to the job fair. It was other cops, like it was all the other, a lot of the other cops were asking. But yeah, the job fair was entirely Marines. We had some success. We had a lot of applicants there. I will say, and you guys are aware, the problem with the out-of-state job fairs is people, if they don't know anything about your department, it's the success rate of hiring people from these is pretty low. So if you're an admin that's watching or command staff and you're spending money, just realize that when your recruiter, when your team goes out to these out-of-state ones, it's not very likely that they're going to get any more than one, if any, because you're not just talking about a new career, but uprooting your family to a strange place. You don't know anybody. So it's difficult in that sense. But what I really like about it is the networking and basically the name recognition. I mean, we went from in Colorado, everybody knows Westminster. As Ken knows, it's Westy is what they call us. Everybody knows Westminster. Nationally, if you're coming from another state, you don't know the difference between Westminster and another department until now. Now, when I go to these places, they're like, "Okay, Westminster, we've heard about you. We saw you on Police One. We saw you on the podcast. We've seen you here," or just word of mouth is spreading. And that, I think, is where the out-of-state job fairs are actually really good.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Donovan, did you ever go out of state?
I did a couple times, actually. I went to Colorado one time.
Where at?
For a candidate. Not Westminster, but it was one of the like way out in the middle of nowhere, and I can't remember the department. And just like half of the trips for laterals, it didn't pan out. It was a lateral trying to run from something. So
yeah. Well, and that we know that happens. One of my Police One articles I wrote, we found there's kind of two types of laterals applying. You have one lateral who is trying to get out of that department. Like Ken says, look at the news, pull up, Police One, or pull up the news, and these departments, they're actually trying to get out of those departments. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of those guys and girls applying to Westminster from a very, multiple big city departments. That's fine. It's another thing if you're trying to run and start a new reputation in another department. That's not okay. Westminster is not the place for you if you're that type of lateral. It's a good place to come in for a better opportunity. It's not a good place to say, "Hey, I'm going to leave my demons over there and start more demons over here." That we're not going to hire you for that one. So
sometimes officers try to do that though, and
they do.
A good background investigator will ferret that out.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? Well, going back to the out-of-state job fairs, you know what that's good for? You get your networks. I had a guy that applied from Texas. He completely no idea that I was really good friends with, that I met at the job fair with the guy from a neighboring department. He knew the guy's story. One quick phone call and there you go. So yeah,
that's cool. A few maybe over a month ago, Donovan and I did a interview with the Laramie County Sheriff, who inadvertently put a recruitment sign over the Denver PD gas pumps or something.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So it was. Yep. He did. It was out in Denver, and I can't remember what the exact address was or where it was at, but he had the big billboard there, and if you just look it up, just look up Laramie County Sheriff's Office, you'll see it. And he definitely got some pushback. It was all over the news. It was pretty funny, but yeah, it was all over the news down here.
He didn't care about that. Did you? Were you going to put any billboards up or anything like that?
Can I plead the fifth on that?
I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm just.
Yeah. Sounds like he can't talk about that yet.
I didn't hear the question, so.
Well, we're going to move on. So what is Westminster offering for new recruits and for laterals about, why would people want to work there?
Yep. No, and that's obviously the number one question that we get. And again, I will refer back to the first episode we did, because the first episode was really, talking about Westminster and really trying to get our name out there. Now that we're out there, just you don't have to go back to it. So if you guys are not from Colorado, then obviously I don't expect you to know Westminster. Maybe I do now. But in Colorado, Westminster, we're the elite department. I mean, there's, other departments, and then there's Westy, as we're called. The things that you can kind of expect here is, yes, we're a 200-person mid-sized department, but we run like a big city department. So we have everything here. We have our own SWAT team, K9, traffic, motors, SROs. We have a fugitive unit called SET. They're undercover. You can be a narcotics officer, a vice officer. You can be a detective. We have every branch of detectives that you want. We have the investigators in professional services. I'm probably forgetting one or two, but we have everything at Westminster. We don't share. We even have our own dispatch center. In Colorado, it's pretty popular where most agencies, they do a dispatch through the county. We don't. We have our own dispatch for police and fire. I think the biggest thing with Westy that you see is the people here. And it starts in hiring, right? We hire people that are not just good candidates, but we want to make sure they're going to be a good fit here. And that's, I think, one of the benefits of having an agency that's maybe not a major, metropolitan department, is because we know the type of person that's going to fit here, and we're able to kind of, pick them as we get to know them through the process. We talked about this before. I think this is the most important thing, hands down, is our training. Not only do we train more than any other department I know, so it's not just the consistency, but it's the quality. Anybody can go to a seminar for a week and become an expert in this field, and then they get the red shirt, and now they're an instructor in this discipline. That's not how it is at Westminster. At Westminster, every single discipline that we have, the instructors in there are not only experts in that field, but they're good at teaching. Because our whole goal is, every time you train, we want to make you better. We don't want to just push you through. And it shows on the street. You look at our training, you look at our street, you look at our work product, just how efficient everybody is, from investigations to felony stops to building clearances to, dealing with a combative subject, everything, just because we're consistently training and we have the right people in the, in those fields to teach. Some of the other things I talked about this inadvertently before, our work-life balance. I will tell you, I've heard this a lot from these laterals. One of the reasons they leave their departments is they have no time off. They're missing workouts. They're missing time with their family. They're living at work. I have another article coming out on Police One based off of a survey they just did, where the number one thing affecting mental health right now is time. Is basically, it said 76% of officers they don't have enough time, and that's what's affecting their mental health and mental well-being. I have more time than I even know what to do with. I had to sit down with Sergeant Hall the other day and tell her, hey, I've got 26 days that I have to burn, or else I lose them this year. So you'll see me working 0 4-day work weeks the rest of this year, pretty much, just because I have the time. So, but that prevents officer burnout. That keeps us motivated, keep morale high. And it's just, everything combined just makes Westminster, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions, the place to work in Colorado.
Cool. So here we have your website pulled up for the people that are going to watch this on YouTube. For the audio people, we're going to describe what's going on here, but we're on the website looking at the police officers' salaries for laterals and entry levels. Tell us about that.
Sure. So you're going to come in based off your years of service. So basically, as you see on the top there, the trainee is 73,000 and change. The $10,000 hiring bonus is for everybody, and the way it works is you get 5,000 after completion of field training, 5,000 after probation. So think of it as like a performance bonus almost, and that's for all entry level or if you have a year or less on the street. If you're a lateral, we have 5 steps. So however much time you have on the street, that's what you come in at. So if you come in, if you have 5 or more years, you're topped out at 108. What is that? 108,513. So basically, we recognize years of service. We recognize experience. You don't have to start from the beginning. Unless you're a rookie, then you do have to start from the beginning pretty much. So
What do you think about that, Donovan? The salary looks pretty good to me.
That looks pretty good. I mean, for cost of living in Colorado, that's a decent salary, you know.
It is. And you know, we have one thing I want to tell people, we have a lot of opportunity for extra duty. I work it occasionally, like before I go on vacation, I might pull a couple details to pay for vacation. It's not voluntary. Like a lot of these guys are getting mandatory overtime. We don't have that here. Everything is voluntary. So you can make what you want. If you don't want to work overtime, you like your time off, do it. If you need new tires on your car, go pull a gig, working security at a church or something. Like we have a lot of ways you can earn extra money if you need to.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go down to the benefits and talk to us about all the medical and pension and vacation and stuff like that.
Sure. The cool thing with our benefits is, and the pension too, is there's not a specific, like, you have to have this. You actually have your choice in a lot of the matter, because everybody's different from what they want, what they need. So from the benefits, we have 2 separate, of the insurance companies that you can choose from. And I mean, you get the one I have, it's my wife and I are covered under it, and I have medical, dental, vision. I actually also have the one I set up. I have chiropractic and physical therapy on my insurance, so I can go get adjusted and get, treatment for when my body's beat up. And again, you'll have your choice for that depending on, your family, how big it is, and what you want taken out each check. And it's the same thing for our pension. So our pension, we have one of the best retirements in the state, and we actually will have guys with 27 years at other departments that their last 3 to 5 years will actually come over to Westminster just for the retirement, because they can basically take their entire career of retirement over to ours and make way more money in retirement just because of the way we have our pension set. So we have what's called the DROP. Some of you guys may be familiar with that. It's the Deferred Retirement Option Plan. And basically you have your choice, where we have, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the rule of 80, where if you have your years of service and your age equal 80, then you can retire at that point as well. You can defer to take your retirement once you hit 55, where you can defer for a while. So if you work after 55, it just keeps growing. But again, there's multiple options to choose from for your retirement, for what's best for you and your family. And the cool thing is the retirement, that's not my wheelhouse. I'm educated on it, but we will actually sit you down when you get hired here. You go across the street to City Hall. We have an entire pension team that will sit down with you for an entire day to help you figure out what retirement's best for you. Our days off is just awesome. So basically what we have is you can carry over, you accrue time, and the way you accrue time is based off your years of service. But you can only carry over each year 280 hours. So anything that you have over 280 hours in vacation and general leave, you have to use. So the longer you're on, the more time you have. And I mean, I was looking at my thing, like I said, I have 28 or 26 days or something that I'm going to lose or I have to use, or else I'm going to lose it. And that's not including your sick time. We have, I think, 11 holidays, 2 floating holidays. Taking time off is not a problem here. And then you go back to the fact that we're fully staffed. Getting days off and getting vacation, you're not going to get turned down for that. So which
What's
is
the working schedule for patrol?
410s. So
410s.
the way we do it, we do 410s. I personally like that. My first department I did 312s, and having the 4 days off is nice. But if you guys have ever worked 12s, in my opinion, you have 3 days where you don't do anything. You go home, you shower, and then you come back to work. We do 410s, so we have basically 3 shifts. We have day shift, swing shift, and graveyards, and then each shift has 2 sides of the week. So you have like an A side and a B side, and it alternates days. And then each shift has what's called an overlap day or a common day. Those are our training days. So for example, Donovan, if I'm on swings A side, you're on swings B side. Week 1, we go train, you work the road. And then week 2, you train, we work the road. And we just alternate like that all year. So, you might go range, arrest control, tactics, investigation, driving, range, taser, and so on and so forth. It just kind of rotates. So we're always able to train. And if you're gone, if you're on vacation during a training, then just go next week, because you go train for 4 hours, suit up, hit the road when you're done. So we do 410s, and I love 410s, to be honest with you.
So those overlap days, do you always use them for training, or because we work that same schedule at my department, and if we didn't have training, then those would be days that we would be able to have one squad get together and maybe go out and do an emphasis, or go out and pick up warrants, something like that, where we'd have extra time.
We'll do that as well. So we'll do stuff where we have a lot of training planned, but there's times if there's no training, we may go do something where we may go to across the street to a church or a school and just work room entries and building clearances. I know Thursday is day shift common day is what it's called. So day shift, you have both sides of the week of day shift working today. And I know, I don't know which one side is working their beats, they're working patrol. The other side, they're saturating the hotels and they're doing proactive policing at some of our problem hotels, because I think this week, there's no training scheduled this week. So we'll do that too if there's no training scheduled. And that's fun, because that's just all proactive.
Right. Yeah. That's something that I know that a lot of officers enjoy. So that's a good benefit to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we're on the uniforms part of the page. Uniforms, collective bargaining agreement, flexible spending accounts, and wellness program. Tell us about that.
Sure. So basically in the wellness program, there's options. And the reason I'm not giving numbers is because there's no concrete answer for these. Everything is an option based off of what you choose. So if you're a wellness program, you can accrue money based off of staying healthy, more or less. You can go and you get it's almost an incentive to stay healthy. Obviously, police, for whatever reason, the history of policing, we have a very unhealthy profession, physically and mentally. So you can accrue various benefits by staying healthy, by working out, by eating clean, which I like. And one thing I know, Ken, we've talked about this a lot, is our mental health. We focus a lot on mental health. Now, I will say the indirect things we do with mental health, I think number one is the time off. Like, if you need time off, take it, because we all get burned out. Take a 5-day weekend, take a week off, get your mind straight, right? It's not going to be a problem. For me, my favorite thing about mental health is the people here. So, and that's kind of an indirect thing, but I know if I'm having an issue, or if somebody's having an issue, there's 200 people you can go to. And obviously you're gonna have your close friends. Off the top of my head, I think I have 10 people that if something was going on with me, I could talk to and help out with my mental health. We have our peer support team, which is a group of officers dedicated for that. So any critical incident they're getting called out on, they're by your side. Anything that you need from a mental health standpoint, they're your resource. But then the best thing that we have from a professional standpoint is we have a partnership with the police psychologist. So there's a big police psychologist in the area where it's under the city, not the department. If you need to set up something for a mental health, appointment or whatever, you can call them, set it up. Your family members can call them, set it up. It's paid for by the city. It's completely confidential. Nobody knows. So it doesn't even come to the city because it's just a contract. You just call them up and say, hey, my name's Ken. My wife and I want to, come down and talk to, a psychologist. Perfect. They won't say anything. Nobody will ever know. It's completely confidential.
Yeah, as it should be.
Mhm.
It's pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
How's your you have a union, or is that the statewide thing, or because you
Yeah.
have an MOU?
Yep. Yeah. We have a union too. So we have representatives with that. And it's, very similar to most of the unions out there where they give you legal representation. Each department, our department, I think actually, I'm not sure what it is. I'm not a high standing member of that. So, but we have, our members we have a president and, a couple people that are some of the spokesmen for the union. So yeah. And you'll have your options again with that. You'll have your options of what type you want with there too. Nothing here is going to be like, this is what you have to do. It's going to say, hey, here are your options. Take it back to your family, talk about it, and you figure out what works best for you.
And Donovan, for Washington State, so Westminster is about 200 officers. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
What's it like? Is that a big department for Washington State?
I would say that's an average on the west side of the mountains. That's an average size department, really, in the Seattle area. Anywhere between 100 to 200 officers is usually what we're running. Outside of Seattle and Olympia.
Because I think Westminster is a pretty good sized department. 200
Yeah.
officers is quite a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is good.
I think, and if you look at the metro area, outside of obviously the major metro department, I think it's most of the suburban agencies are around that, or if it's a smaller city, it might be 100 or 120. There's a really big, I guess, metro area down south. I think they're 300 maybe. So I mean, yeah, Westminster's, I would say, above average as far as the Denver metro area departments go.
And for entry-level police and laterals, what do you need to have on your resume in order to apply to be a Westminster cop?
So I'm going to actually extend this. On your resume, for entry level on your resume, all you need is a high school diploma or a GED.
Yes.
That's it. Nothing else. You don't need a degree. For a lateral, you need 1 year on the street. So in order to be a lateral, and it could be out of state, we'll get to the out of state stuff in a minute. What I want to say with this is we are a character over credentials department, right? Where I don't care if you come in and you put on my desk this stack of credentials that's this thick and it's got every, trophy you earned playing soccer and everything else. I don't care. It will help if you're a good person. We want good people. We're looking for high quality people that can be good Westminster cops and are good people. Now, if you have good credentials on top of that, obviously that's a good thing. But if you're just a credential person, then you probably are not going to be a good fit here. We want good, high quality, integrity, work ethic, character.
Mhm.
That's what we want. GED, high school diploma. There you go. That's it.
Cool. And
Yeah.
for lateral?
Yeah. For lateral, it's a year. So basically, all you have to have is your if you're in state, you need your Colorado post and a year of patrol experience. If you're out of state, whatever certification you have that's post equivalent and a year of patrol experience. The reason is the Colorado post won't acknowledge you as a lateral if you only have a couple months on. You have to have that year. So the cool thing with us is if you're out of state, you don't have to go through an academy. If you're a lateral, you don't have to go through an academy. If you come from out of state, and I actually have a list here. I've got in the last recent history, I've got a bunch of people from out of state we've hired. So you come here and what you do is you get a provisional post. The provisional post lasts for 6 months and you just apply for that pretty much at the end part of the process. From your hire date until it's 6 months is when you have to get your post. But the way you do that is you test out. So Colorado post is 20 minutes away from here. And it takes a day. And the cool thing with us is that's a work day. So we pay for it. It's on us. So if it's on your day off, flex that day. If it's on your work day, that's your work day. You go down a post and the first half, I think, is the written test. It's not bad. We'll help you out with that. And then the second half, you do firearms, arrest control, and driving. To my knowledge, nobody's had any issues with it. At least since I've been back here, it's very doable. And once you go and you test out with that, you're post certified. and it transfers over. So, we have enough guys that have transferred from out of state that can help you out with that. We can help you out with that, but just know as a lateral, you don't have to go through an academy. We'll help you get your certification here.
That's cool.
Okay.
And Donovan, I don't think you did. I'm sorry, you're going to say something?
No, go ahead, Ken.
No, good. I was going to ask about something.
Yeah, so my question is, and this one came up quite a bit when I was doing recruiting, and it still comes up now. You'll have some federal officers that want to lateral, and I don't know if you've had that at all. And they go through one of the various FLETC academies. Could be BIA or any of the other ones. How does Colorado look at that? I know Washington has had some struggles because FLETC doesn't always release the curriculum. So how do you guys handle that if you've had experience with that?
I actually don't know.
Okay.
I've not been asked that before. A lot of times you can call post. So if you're a federal, if you are want to go from feds and come to Westminster, let me know. You can contact me. We can contact post together, because I'm sure each of the certifications you get for each federal agency is different. That's going to be up to post.
Right.
They may recognize one and not recognize another. They may recognize all. I really don't know. But it's an easy fix where, if you call me and say, hey, I'm with this agency and I have this certification, great. Let me send it to post. I'll have you answer back in 10 minutes. So,
okay. All right.
And Donovan, you weren't here the first time I did an interview with them, but what I thought was kind of cool that was unique to their department is you can go in as a lateral to Westminster. And if you were a detective, they're not going to send you back to patrol like a new officer. You get to go into these. Tell us about that, Jesse, where
Sure.
you can use your experience.
Right. So in our opinion, if you have experience doing something that is a specialty unit, if you're a detective, if you're SWAT, if you run a dog, it doesn't make sense to put you working a beat on patrol for 5 years. Like, we want to use that experience. So obviously you have to work patrol, it's part of it. But, I think the two examples we used last time, and these are just off the top of my head, we have one of our detectives. He's a core detective. He was a 20 something year detective at one of the local agencies, right? Phenomenal detective. He came in, worked the street, and he petitioned to get off probation after 6 months, which, if you're coming in and you're performing well as a lateral, it's not a problem. I believe after he petitioned, he got accepted. He had maybe been 8 months on the road since he lateraled here. He got his detective position. Why wouldn't he? He's got all this experience and, great street cop, but his wheelhouse is being a detective. Okay. Same thing. We had a guy come from out of state. He was SWAT. He's a 15-year cop, 10-year SWAT out there. He was like, can I test for SWAT? Why not? Why would we not utilize somebody with that skill set, that unique skill set, and put him on a specialty unit, rather than just making him work a beat, and not doing it. So now he's on SWAT. So, and this was same thing. It was less than a year, eight or 10 months or something. So if you have a specialty that you're coming in from another department, make it aware, because you'll come in and you'll do your field training and you'll work the street, but then you can petition to go to that, to put in for that spot. And it's highly likely you're going to get it, because I don't think it'd be smart to not take you and utilize your skill and utilize your experience.
Yeah. In California, I don't know how it is in Washington, but in California, if you go from one, you can have 15, 20 years on your department. You go, hey, I think I'm going to go ahead and freeze my pension or whatever, and go to another agency. And a lot of agencies, they treat you like a boot. They put you on patrol and you're nobody there.
I will say, though, it's kind of funny because we have a lot of those, but we also have guys that were detectives or something somewhere else, and they came back and they just want to work patrol because we have our patrol's a lot of fun. And they're like, no, I want to work my beat. Sweet, have fun. If you change your mind, go ahead. And they're outstanding street cops. So it goes either way, but the opportunity's there, and that's definitely something unique that we offer.
Donovan, do they have anything like that in Washington?
Yeah, there's some departments that actually will allow laterals to apply right away for a specialty spot. Most departments will say that they have to complete their probationary period for laterals, which most departments is anywhere from 9 months to a year here. So they try to get them out of there pretty quick if they can, because again, they same mind frame. They want to utilize those skills if they can.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. And going back to your federal question, I remember doing a background on a guy from DC police, and he had to get a post waiver where he had to get some training or classes or something like that in college or something like that to fill in the gap to make him California post certified. And I don't think there was anything, he didn't have to jump through any hoops as far as federal. I don't think we questioned his academy or anything.
Yeah. I'd be surprised. I mean, I don't want to, give inaccurate information, but I can't imagine it wouldn't have some sort of carryover where you could at least challenge,
Yeah, the only thing we ever ran into a problem with, there's a couple of the FLETC academies that just refused to release any of the curriculum, so we didn't know what they officially learned in the academy, and that's where we ended up with problems. You can't bring someone on and not know. So, but I know Treasury, they actually released theirs, and we hired quite a few from the Treasury Department. So,
and for the ones that I did, all they had to do was go through California Post, which was separate from us. And if they got a post waiver, they were good to go for us. Yeah, interesting. I never thought about that. So Westminster, not just the police department, but what's the city like? What's the makeup of the city? Do they support the cops? I never hear anything bad coming out of Westminster that you guys are on the demonstration lines and they're hating on you and all that.
No, if you see Westminster on the news, it's because of a call, not because of outside of policing type of thing. Westminster is the citizens and the city is very supportive of us. And you'll see it I've had, of course, we all get complaints and stuff. It's policing, but for the most part, when you're driving around, it's very rare that somebody gives you a disrespectful, salute when you're driving around. The city really likes the cops because they know that we're there to protect the city, and we do a really good job with that. We're very supportive. The city council is very supportive of us. One thing is cool that I didn't mention this last time, but I'm going to mention it now because it seems to be an anomaly here. Like, for example, we get along great with our fire department. I've heard horror stories from other departments where the cops are like, we hate the fire department and the fire department hates the cops. I don't understand that, because if something happens to me, if I go down, they're the ones that are pulling me out and treating me. But if they need, assistance for something, they're calling us. So we have a great relationship with our fire department, great relationship with the city. If you're doing what you're supposed to do as a Westminster cop and you're driving your beat and you're driving your neighborhood, you're doing your business checks and stuff like that, you will see that the large majority of people are very happy to see you. And that's unique. Not so much in the suburbs. I think that's most suburbs in Colorado. It's pretty similar. Maybe some of the bigger cities, it's not quite as much, but I know here in Westminster, it's if somebody's coming from maybe an out-of-state department that wasn't supportive, I'm not going to name names, we all know them, and they come here and they're like, oh wow, that was pretty cool. Like, I actually got waved at, I stopped in and the business owners actually like me and stuff like that. It is a little bit of a shock to them. So yeah, and we're, for those of you guys that don't know, Westminster, we're right in between Denver and Boulder. Denver is, 6 or 7 minutes southeast of us, and then Boulder is 10 minutes northwest of us, and there's a highway that connects us all. And so if you're going from Denver to Boulder, you pass through Westminster and vice versa.
Interesting.
And I think I don't want to quote it because I said it last time, we're like 120,000 plus or minus a couple 10,000. Don't take my word on that, but it's probably pretty close. So
close enough for government work.
Yeah.
So the people like you guys. I mean, people wave to the cops and like that.
They do. Yeah. I mean, I remember I was on patrol. I was sitting at the fire station. I was typing a report, and his car pulls up next to me, and of course your spidey senses go off. And this lady goes, "Hey, I just left Starbucks," and she just goes, "Here," drives off. And I open it up, and it's just a gift card to Starbucks. And I was like, "Thank you." But that was it. I mean, it was like a 12-second interaction, but I mean, that's not uncommon. Like they really do support us here, and we like our citizens too. I mean, we're out here to protect them, and we do a good job of that. But they appreciate it.
Mhm.
Donovan, I cannot relate to this kind of talk.
I can and I can't.
So, for laterals and new hires, Westminster seems to be the place to go.
Yes. I came from another department. Great history, but they had some issues when I left. In Colorado, it's funny because you'll talk to these guys and they're always like, hey, I'm applying to these other departments, but all the other departments are like, oh, you're applying to Westy? They're like, yeah. They're like, okay, well, if you don't get that, come work here. Everybody wants to work for Westminster. And again, that's statewide. It's very well known. I do want to share the story. We talked about this last podcast, but we were doing interviews last year, and we always ask people, where'd you hear about us? And there was 3 people that they were like, I was on a ride along with another department, and they told me, this place is good, go work with Westminster. Or they covered Westminster on a call, like, felony stop or whatever it was, and they saw Westminster work, and they were like, I kind of want to work there. So in Colorado, everybody knows Westminster. And again, it's starting to become like that nationwide. So I have my list here. Sorry, I'm looking. Just in the past recent history, we've got people from California, Pennsylvania, Washington, Ohio, Florida, Louisiana, Kentucky, Nevada, and Texas. And then in backgrounds for laterals, we've got a California, a Washington, and a Texas right now in backgrounds for laterals. So we have more out of state. I think we have more out of state laterals and backgrounds than we do in state.
2 Washington people, Donovan.
2. Well, we have 1 hired, one in backgrounds. So.
Well, when are you coming out to visit us then?
When am I coming out there?
Yeah.
Come and recruit.
Yeah, recruit or take over that background and come on out. Tell them you have to do it.
On my way. On my way.
So what is, we hear about Colorado. All I hear about Colorado is when it's in the news. I don't know if it's Denver, the Mile High City or something like that. What's it like to live in Colorado? What's the weather like and just living, because it sounds like like a Washington type state where it's just beautiful there.
So Denver's a big city, right? I'm not a big city person. I live in the suburbs. So, but the thing with Colorado is you have a little bit of everything here. Okay. You have, if you're a big city person, by all means, be the big city. If you're a suburb kid like me, growing up in the suburbs, living in the suburbs, there's a lot of great areas to live. But right outside of the suburbs, if you go west, you have the mountains, right? I mean, you can drive from Westminster, 25 minutes west, and you're in, the foothills, the mountains, go a little bit farther, and you're hitting up 14ers, which is, sorry, you guys don't know, it's a 14,000 foot mountain.
Mm-hmm.
You go a little bit southwest. If you're a big hunter, great places to hunt out there. You go out to the, half an hour east, and you've got the plains, you've got farmland and ranches and stuff like that. So you do have a little bit of everything, and the weather is unpredictable. It can snow in May, and it could be 70 degrees on Christmas. It's just part of it. But no, it's a good place if you have. We have a guy that came here from Louisiana actually, and he loves it. I mean, he came from the hot, humid down south, and I mean, that guy, the second he gets off work, him and his wife are up in the mountains, they're boating, they're hiking and taking selfies, sending their friends, posting it on Instagram, and he loves it. That guy lives up in the mountains on his days off. We've got guys that have ranches. If you live in the suburbs, you can have the, basically the proximity to both. So it's a good place to live. As far as, especially if you're an outdoorsy person, I mean, it's going to be funny in September coming up, like half our department has gone hunting. They save up like their vacation days, and it's like you look at shifts are running at minimum because everybody's on a hunting trip. We got fishing, we have, but obviously apparently Denver's or Colorado's like a flyover state. People come here, they're like, we didn't realize like how big the metro area is. I mean, there's, 2 million people or something live in the metro area. So it's a big area.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Well, this has been a good interview. I put down at the for the YouTube folks and the people that are listening in the show notes of YouTube and for the audio portion of it, I'm going to put the link to Westminster recruitment page, and they can go there and they can look at the job openings. They can see what the benefits and the pay is. And how can they get a hold of you if they have more questions?
So basically you can email me or text me, whatever's easiest. And you know what? I'm just going to tell you my number right now. If you guys want to text me, because apparently nobody in this generation emails anymore. Everybody texts. So I'll give you my email, or can you put my email down at the bottom there, Ken?
Yeah,
So
go ahead and give it to me real quick.
So my email is JACOHEN at westminsterco.gov. So if you're older than 30, you can email me. If you're younger than 30, then you can text me, and I'll put that too. And Ken, let me know when you're ready.
Is it? You said it was J.A. Cohen at westminster.co?
It's the website there, so it's westminsterco.gov. It's just the city website.
Okay, westminsterco.gov. Yep. Okay, I'll go ahead and throw that up there. Okay, there's the email address.
Yeah, so then for the under 30 crowd, you can text me. Let me know when you're ready. You good?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, 720-705-3732. And I usually get to work every day, and I've got about 35 texts, so just add on to it.
Let me throw this one up here. There we go. There's the phone number, 720-705-3732.
Yep. And if I don't get back to you right away, I promise you I will. When I go home, sometimes I kind of live on my phone, and then I realize that I need to put it down. So it goes in the closet, but I promise you I'll respond to you.
Okay. So anybody over 30, J.A. Cohen at westminsterco.gov. And for you younger folks who want to text, 720-705-3732. So they can get a hold of you, and you're very friendly, nice to talk to, and you have all kinds of information. So if you want to go to Colorado, check it out, right?
Yeah.
And for real, you guys, please reach out to me. I know it can be intimidating, but I actually appreciate it. One of the articles I wrote for Police One was talking about doing your research while you're applying, because not every department is the same. So one of the ways you do your research is by reaching out to me. We can talk, make sure you're a good fit here and go over the process and everything, but don't be intimidated. I'm more than happy to talk to you at any time.
Cool. Donovan, do you have any other questions?
No, this is another great interview, and it's, like I said, it's always great to get recruiters information out there so they can get these positions filled.
Yeah, and I talked to Jesse, and I talk at least probably maybe text or something, maybe once or twice per month, so we keep in touch.
Oh, easy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if there's anything that you have questions for Jesse about, just go ahead and get a hold of him. He's super quick on the text and on the emails. Except on Friday.
Except on Fridays.
You're not going to get him on Friday.
Not Friday, but all the other times I'm real quick, guys, for real. So.
Well, I appreciate it. And all right, well, that'll do it for us. Great update on Westminster, and let us know if you get anybody that makes inquiries from this episode.
We got a lot from last one, so, and that was actually the first podcast episode I did, and I looked back on it, and it was a little, I had a couple mistakes in that one, so this one I feel like is a little bit better.
I thought you guys did great. I thought it was great.
The other two did really well.
Mm-hmm.
I had some issues on mine.
And I think Donovan was on a day off, and you actually co-hosted one of our podcast episodes too.
I did, yeah. I co-hosted one.
Yeah.
That's when I was knee deep in the polygraphic examiner school. Remember?
That's
Nice.
right.
And I still live in that horror.
So that worked out pretty good. But thanks again, guys. And we will be back in a couple of weeks.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Police Applicant Podcast. We are the premier police background prep site in the U.S. and Canada. For more information on scheduling your police background consultation, go to policebackground.net. Also, please leave us a review on iTunes.